by Swami Kriyananda. Week 13, Deeds versus Intentions. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. Jesus Christ emphasized repeatedly the spirit, not the letter of the law. In chapter 5 of the Gospel of St. Matthew, he speaks of the sin of killing and of the legal punishment attendant on that sin, but says that more important than the act is the desire to kill or to do harm. He shows that the sin of harmful desire goes beyond merely wanting to kill. My message to you, he said, is this: whoever is angry with his brother without cause already stands condemned. Whoever contemptuously calls his brother a fool shall answer for it to the Supreme Council. And whoever calls his brother an outcast of God shall be in danger of hellfire. Brother here means any other human being. For all of us in the highest sense are brothers and sisters, children of our one Father, Mother, God. The true self of one is the self of all. To hurt another, even if one doesn't realize it, is to hurt oneself. Swami Kriyananda in The Path recalls an episode in which the master Paramhansa Yogananda revealed his sense of identity, even with the plants. One day, Kriyananda wrote, we were moving a delicate but rather heavy tropical plant into position on the hillside. Our handling evidently was too rough, for Master cried out, "Be careful what you are doing. Can't you feel? It's alive." To wish death to anyone, to wish even harm to another creature, is to deny in oneself the reality of that divine life of which all of us are manifestations. It is, in short, to deny the eternal truth proclaimed by the Bhagavad Gita in the 2nd chapter. This self is never born, nor does it perish. Once existing, it cannot ever cease to be. It is birthless, eternal, changeless, ever itself. It is not slain when the body is slain. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om. Good morning. To find my glasses. What a beautiful day. Feels that spring is cooperating. All right, I'm going to start with a reading, of course, from Yogananda's beautiful book of prayer demands and poems, Whispers from Eternity. And this is number 105. Demand for realizing the expansion of consciousness in the cosmic sound. Let me do that again. Demand for realizing the expansion of consciousness in the cosmic sound. Manifest thyself to me, O Father, as the light of reason and as the blaze of wisdom, as the breeze of amity and of self-expanding harmony. Manifest thyself through the song of atoms and electrons, whose music vibration encompasses the universe. Teach me to hear thy cosmic voice, which first commanded all vibration to begin, inspiring every pinpoint of creation to sing its own special melody. Oh, let me hear within me thy cosmic voice, so long hidden behind the hubbub of outer creation. Let my magic wand of meditation touch all sounds and melt them into the one
cosmic sound of Om. Lo, how it courses over the earth, in the sky, and far out from earth to reach the stars. Appear to me as Om, 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 thy cosmic song, which gives life to and infuses all sounds. Every cell of my body, every nerve, every ripple of my thoughts now sings with thy great cosmic anthem, Om. That particular Whispers reading reminded me of space travel. And this past week, the Artemis spacecraft traveled further into the solar system than we've done before. And we went to the dark side of the moon, and I don't know if anyone saw any of the imagery, but it's really, really stunning. And it reminded me of when man first walked on the moon, so I'm giving away my age, but I was about 4 years old at that time. And if you remember, those of you who witnessed that, the spacecraft landed on the moon, I think around 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and it wasn't until 10 p.m. that evening, Eastern time, that the astronauts actually got out of the shuttle. But I remember that so vividly because my mother had my brother and I kneel in front of the television and say a prayer for the astronauts. And it's one of my most vivid childhood memories, and the reason for that is because my mother offered this intention of love and peace and protection for the astronauts. And that's what we're talking about today, is intention. And prayer is the most beautiful and powerful intention that we have. There was an astronaut who traveled to space in the 70s, and he said that when he was there, the first time he saw the planet Earth from the spaceship, he had this overwhelming realization that not only was he in space, but we were all in space on this planet, which was in space. And he said something happened to him where he had this realization that the molecules that were in his body, the molecules that were in the spacecraft, on the Earth, in the stars, in the planets, all came from the same place deep in space. And he went into ecstasy. He had an experience of ecstasy. When he came home, he wasn't a religious person, he was a scientific person. He started to research various religions to try to understand what happened to him in that moment. And he finally settled on the concept of samadhi. He realized that he had a samadhi experience of oneness with the universe at that time. Now, one of the current astronauts, and I don't remember his name, but they interviewed the astronauts at the beginning of the week just to get their perspective. And he was so sweet. He said that being in space and looking at the planet Earth made him realize that the only reason we're here as humans is to find joy in lifting each other up. Isn't that beautiful? To find joy in lifting each other up and to work together to come up with solutions instead of destruction. Beautiful, beautiful intention that he sent out. And he also said that, and all the astronauts, if you read any of their commentary when they come home, they all say that these boundaries that we create on the planet, our states, our countries, our continents, they're just irrelevant because we're all on the same planet sharing this place together, and that we have to understand that our consciousness is linked. We're so linked together, and it's so important that we recognize that. Yogananda said, I'm going to read something. He said that the boundaries we draw to delineate countries are temporary, man-made, and limiting. Our true home is omnipresence. And he said, I believe a time will come when in greater understanding we shall have no boundaries anymore. We shall call the earth our country, and we shall, by a process of justice and international assembly, distribute unselfishly the goods of the world according to the needs of the people. But equality cannot be established by force. It must come from the heart. The greatest blessing would be to develop international understanding by which we may realize this truth. And we are slowly working towards that reality. We're in Dwapara Yuga. We're in an age of elevated consciousness. It doesn't feel like it, but that's the truth. This reading today couldn't be more timely when we've had political leaders threatening the annihilation of entire civilizations. And some people defend those statements and say it's just bravado or bluster or hyperbole. But the problem with that is that everything in the material world starts out as a thought. Everything. Even God creating the universe came from a thought. And Yogananda said that thoughts have a subtle vibration, and anything we think ripples out into the ether. When we have a thought of harm or destruction, and then we actually speak it, it takes on more energy. It takes on more power. So it's really important that we are careful with what we think and what we say. You know, it's so, so important. So an example of this is Yogananda's story in the Autobiography of a Yogi, where he's in Serampore with his guru, Sri Yukteswar. And Sri Yukteswar was known as a scholar of all the Vedic scriptures. And Yogananda was sitting with other disciples at Sri Yukteswar's feet, listening to him interpret some of the Vedas. And all of a sudden, a mosquito came and was buzzing around Yogananda, and he couldn't concentrate. And then the mosquito landed on his leg, and he instinctively lifted his hand to kill the mosquito. And then the thought of Patanjali's aphorism on ahimsa, nonviolence, came into his consciousness. So he put his hands down, and then Sri Yukteswar said, "Why didn't you finish the job?" And Yogananda said, "Sir, but nonviolence, are you suggesting I should kill?" And he said, "You already had the thought of killing, so you might as well finish the job," basically. So it was such a powerful lesson that our thoughts contain energy. And that's what today's reading is about, is like our thoughts. So we want to make sure that we're tuned in to the consciousness of love and peace and joy and compassion for each other. You know, we just celebrated Easter a week ago. You know, the resurrection of the Christ consciousness, the love consciousness, the forgiveness consciousness. And to think that we found ourselves in this situation. And something amazing happened, though, in response to the words that were spoken this week. And that is that millions of people around the planet started to pray for peace, set intentions for peace, meditated for peace, and political leaders got together to come up with a peaceful solution to what's happening in the world. And that has so much power, and that power of peace rippled out and basically sort of dampened the heat, I would say. We're still in a time where we have to pray for peace. We have to pray for compassion. We have to pray for love of each other. But isn't that a beautiful thing? And I noticed at work this week, even if you don't pay attention to the news, I think there was an effect. Something happened this week. And I could tell at work, all my coworkers, people I don't even know that well, all the patients, all the visitors, people were so kind this week. I really felt a vibration of kindness in response to this. And it's a really powerful lesson for us that we're, especially those of us who are really trying to live these teachings, we're trying to live the Christ consciousness in our everyday life, in every interaction, every thought, every word, to live the highest vibration that we can. Going back to prayer, so we all know that prayer is a tangible power. So anytime we think of someone with love and kindness, we're sending that out to them. There's a famous scholar named Elaine Pagels who writes about religion, and she wrote a memoir a few years ago called Why Religion? She talked about the fact that when she first got into this work, she came from an academic's perspective, but when her son was only 1 year old, he was born with a congestive heart condition, and his lifespan was short, but he had to have open heart surgery, and she was under a tremendous amount of stress because they weren't sure if he would survive the surgery. And she told a story of being in the hospital room in New York City, like literally lying on the floor next to his bed. And she said she was exhausted and she was in and out of sleep. And at some point during the night, she felt like she had a vision of a circle of women sitting around her holding hands. And she felt that they were praying for her. They were sending her love. And one of the women, she didn't recognize many, but she recognized one who was her friend in California. So the next morning, she wrote her a letter. Now, this is before texting and cell phones. She wrote her a letter, sent it to California, and about 3 days later, she received a letter from the same friend. So their letters crossed in the mail. Her friend hadn't received her letter. And her friend's letter said to her, this group of women, we sat together and we sat in a circle and we prayed for you and your son the night before your son's surgery. And this really changed her life because she couldn't explain it through science. She couldn't explain it through the rational mind, but she felt the vibration of their prayer and the vibration of their love coming to her. And it's just a reminder to us, again, how powerful our thoughts are, that intention that we send out. You know, in today's reading, to harm another person, to send out an intention of ill will or harm to another person, ultimately we harm ourselves because it's a debasement of the divinity that's in us. You know, these little containers contain a spark of divinity, of creation, of light, of love and compassion, and our only job is to keep going back inside, keep going back into that truth of who we really are. And I'll just end with, you know, we listen to the radio, however you listen to music these days, and there's all different channels still in the car. There's different frequencies that we can tune into. And we want to tune into the Christ consciousness. You know, we really want to just keep ourselves, especially now, tuned in to the consciousness of love and compassion. And, you know, just like that astronaut said, our job as humans is to find joy in lifting each other up. There's beauty all around us. And if we tune our channel into beauty and into love and into peace, that's our reality. You know, that's the timeline. There's different timelines. Yogananda said there's different streams of consciousness moving through the universe. And we get to choose which stream we swim in, you know, or which consciousness we align ourselves with. I was walking through the woods near my house, and it's still really brown, and the leaves are dead, and the leaves haven't come out yet. And I kind of was having that thought, like hoping it was going to be different. And then I turned the corner, and there was this beautiful, huge cluster of daffodils in the middle of all that decay. You know, volunteer from someone's yard, I suppose, because it was in the middle of the woods. And you know, that vibrant green and that beautiful yellow. And that's the truth, that there's beauty everywhere, and there's beauty in every person, there's beauty in every situation, and that's what God is asking us to do, is to find the beauty in every situation, to find the light in each person, to find the most beautiful quality in each other, and that helps us to lift each other up. So I just want to end today by having us together recite Yogananda's Peace and Harmony prayer. We repeat it 10 times. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. And then at the end, 3 times for ourselves, because I really do feel we just need to do that right now. We need to do it in our own meditations, in our own prayer, but let's do it together. So let's visualize our planet Earth. Imagine that we're astronauts and we're looking at our beautiful planet Earth from space, and imagine a beautiful white divine light of peace and harmony surrounding our whole planet and touching the heart of every human being, every animal, every creature, all of life on the planet. And together we'll pray, Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill this world with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. And for ourselves, Lord, fill me with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill me with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Lord, fill me with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Let's send that vibration out into the ether. Send our intention of peace and harmony to the world. Shanti, Shanti. And that's how we do it. Om, peace, amen.
And now we'll have our offering. Please take what you would like